but I was rebellious.
Mhm.
So yes, I struggle to focus on things that I don't want to do. I get distracted easily. All of those things. I can have a to-do list and I'll do anything except for that list when I'm in the throes of ADHD. But because I was an excellent,
Welcome to another wonderful podcast, to another wonderful lady. Oh, I am very excited for this one today. I can feel it in my bones for sure. So, as always, this is Eli Devonte, and I'm a neurodivergent business helper. I help lots of people in their businesses, but more importantly, let's speak about the lady that is with us today, and she can let us know what she does to help important people in her business. Welcome, Debra. How are you today?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me, Eli.
It's my pleasure, especially when I was late. So I have to put my hands up, listeners. Yes, Eli was typically late, and but I'm going to make it up to her because I know she's going to do great. She's going to be very informative, and we're going to have a great conversation. So, Deborah, if you can just let us know how you help people within your business, what you do, and we'll go with the flow.
Okay. Well, the best way to really describe me is I'm a sales and marketing expert. I spent a lot of my career in corporate America running marketing departments. And so I've done every kind of marketing and advertising, public relations that really exists, or someone on my staff did. And I raised 5 children, and I sacrificed a lot of that career during that time frame, for a variety of different reasons. Most of it is because I'm just getting it done, just getting through, and everybody else kind of takes priority over mom, right? Mom's needs are almost always last.
Yeah.
And so I came to a point in my life where my marriage had fallen apart. My kids were all grown and had left the household, and my mother passed away, and I found myself in a place of, who am I? What's left for me?
Mm.
And I went through counseling and really found myself again. Today, I'm more in my own skin than I have been in a couple of decades. And so I started my marketing and advertising agency in 2022. It's called Hexagon Media. And there's a lot of marketing and advertising people out there these days. And I like to talk about how my industry has become very segmented, actually.
Uh-huh.
We have digital marketing agencies and social media agencies and content creators and videographers and reels, and then you have advertising agencies and television and graphic designers. And to the average business person, they all kind of do the same thing. And what I've noticed is that none of them sell,
Mm.
right? None of them have a sales mindset, and it's not their fault. They're not from a sales background.
Mhm.
And when I was running those marketing departments, they were always in very competitive industries. So I wasn't just responsible for putting the marketing plan together and executing it. I was responsible for the results that it generated.
Ah.
And so sales was always top of mind. Is this going to sell? How's this going to help us generate more revenue? And so what I do better than most people is that's what my focus is always about sales. And I would challenge anyone and say that all marketing is about sales, whether it's public relations, community involvement. And I've had some PR people saying, well, wait a minute. We're doing it for the philanthropic reasons. It's charitable. And my response is always, well, there's a reason we sent that press release, right?
Mm.
If we were just doing good, why did we have to tell people about it? Well, we want people to know we're doing good. And why do we want them to know that we're doing good? So they'll think favorably of us. And why does that matter? So we'll sell more products and services. I give a presentation sometimes that's titled "Sales is Not a Dirty Word," and I think, we have a very consumer-driven society. We buy and sell things all day long. Somebody sold you coffee on your way to the office. Someone sold you the slacks that you're wearing. We buy and sell things all day long. And yet somehow, when it's related to the most important thing, how we generate revenue, how we, for our business that employs people, that helps them have a life, that builds our future, we have our sales mindset so far back on the back burner, we got to dig deep to find it sometimes. And so that is, it's just something that is missing. And so that's what I bring that's special. Of course,
Can I ask?
Content, I do all of the things, but that sales element, it's important. And, people want to sell, but they don't want anyone to know they're selling. They want to.
No, you're totally right. I mean, life is full of selling, to be honest, be that personal or be that business. We're always trying to show a greater light to ourselves, isn't it? You have a conversation with someone, you want someone to like you, isn't it? So that's a form of selling yourself, really, to be honest. What I wanted to ask you, though, is when it comes to sales, and this is what I'm curious about, not everyone can do it, or can they?
I think everyone can be taught the skills necessary to do it. And the most important skill when it comes to selling is authenticity. I don't want to be talked into something from somebody and it feel fake. We know when somebody's pitching us. We know when somebody's not being truly themselves. And we do that in some level throughout our whole life. Like you said, on a personal level, we build relationships with people. And sales is a transfer of enthusiasm. I love my product. I love how I help people. I love helping people sell that. I transfer that to someone else so that they feel my enthusiasm for wanting to help them. And so anyone can learn to do that effectively. And the other thing is really your mindset. When I do sales coaching, it always involves mindset. Mindset is key to everything, but it's definitely key to sales. How do you approach your day? And it's big with ADHD also. What is your mindset when you start that day? Is it that, for me, I have to have small goals. I have to step into like challenge mindset and challenge myself. So if I'm out cold calling, for example, which no one likes to do really, I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk to 3 more people before I call it a day. I'm going to have a conversation with 3 people, not just hand the information to somebody. I'm going to have that 3 more times before I go home. And having those little short goals is what really helps me stay on track and not be distracted by all of the things happening around me. But sales, there are people that are naturally gifted at it. And I'm one of those people. I just am naturally good at it. But not everyone is. And some of the best salespeople I've ever known were people that were not naturally gifted at sales. They learned it. It's a skill, and they worked. They had a great work ethic. They built the numbers. So you there's a lot of programs out there to help. So
I get that. Okay, so let's talk about the mindset for sales. And first thing you do in the morning, getting yourself in the right framework of your mind. Okay, so let's compare the person that doesn't get themselves ready and a person that does get themselves ready, and what that looks like from both ends of the spectrum. Because I think some people are thinking, well, as long as I'm taught, what to say, how to say, and when to say it, that should be good enough. But what we're doing, we're now looking at the core. why does the core matter? Why does the mindset? So let's compare the two without a good beginning of the day and what happens, and with a good beginning of the day, what happens.
For me, what I see, the beginning of the day and the mindset portion of it, I think is going to be different for each person and what they're comfortable with. But for me, it's about discovering really what your why is. Why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Am I doing this to make money? Yes, most salespeople are in it for the money, let's face it. But sometimes you own your own business, and I'm passionate about my business, and I'm passionate about doing the things in my business, but I don't like to go out and sell it. So how can I make sure that I'm focused on selling it? Because if I don't sell it, I don't get to do the stuff I'm passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's waking up and knowing, because no one's motivated every day. No one wakes up motivated every day. They don't. That's not authentic. That's not reality.
Yeah.
And no one has a positive mindset every single day. It's impossible to be like that. And it's not authentic. But what is authentic is that I can be disciplined. I can wake up and say, I'm doing this because I found my voice. I want to help others find their voice. I'm doing this because of my reasons. That discipline is what matters. So when you set for your mindset, it's not about, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be motivated and I'm going to get up and I'm going to exercise, because yeah, that happens. But what, 25% of the time maybe, where we wake up like that? The rest of the time we're groggy and we're tired and we want to look at our phones first and we want, all of those things. So for me, it's about remembering why I'm getting up early, why I'm doing it, what the goal is for that day, and putting my mindset into that passion purpose.
Yeah.
Why that I'm doing it. And then meditation's a really big part of my life. I'm in a kind of a transition period because I'm in Oklahoma and it's cold in the mornings now, and I like to meditate outside. And so from the time it starts being warm enough in the morning to meditate outside, I'm outside. So now it's too cold for me to meditate outside until I do. So I'm kind of in my little transition time, but meditation's really important for me.
I get you.
A lot of people, I actually meditate. I've been meditating for about 15 years, but a lot of people pray. Right? Prayer is very similar to meditation. It's quiet time. Some people just like to sit by themselves. Affirmations, starting your day by saying, I have everything I need to accomplish my goals today. I don't ever leave my house thinking of what I need to do. I don't leave my house thinking about lack. Because now what am I attracting? We are what we think about. And so I'm thinking about lack. I lack something. I need something. And so I'm in that state of lack. So when I leave my house, I used to roll through my list, making sure I don't forget things. And I don't do that anymore. I say, I have everything I need to accomplish my goals today. I have everything I need.
That's beautiful.
And it's made a big difference in how we speak to ourselves. So imagine waking up and you pick up your phone and you start scrolling and you go through the news and there's nothing but crappy news in there, and your candidate didn't win presidency, and now the new stuff's happening and everybody's upset, and that's how you start your day. And you don't have any positive affirmations, and then you realize, oh crap, I scrolled for too long and now my appointment's in 45 minutes and now I'm rushed and I'm hurrying through my stuff, and the self-care that I plan and that I need for my sanity is completely gone now. And I'm rushing through that whole, I'm not doing any of it. I certainly don't have time to meditate. I might say a quick prayer of, Jesus, please help me get through the rest of this.
Yeah.
So I've started in chaos, and that chaos just transfers through the rest of your day. So as a salesperson or as a business owner, when you're going out and you're trying to focus on the great things about your products and services and how they help people, you're in chaos and you kind of look like you need help. You got this energy about you that isn't what you want or need, that sales mindset. So in contrast, you get up, you don't look at your phone. You get up and you do stretching, or maybe exercise or yoga, or maybe you just spend quiet time. Maybe you have a cup of coffee sitting outside and just being quiet, and take a little bit of time for your own mental health. And you think about, all of the good things in your life and all of the great blessings that are coming and all the blessings you're working toward having. And now you're filled with purpose, not with tasks, not with a list of things to do, but with purpose. So now you look at that task list differently than you did before. And when you start your day and you leave and now you're out and you're like, okay, I need to go do these sales things, whatever they are. Usually it involves prospecting and generating leads. And so now I need to go do that, but look how much better my energy is. Other people feel that, when you're talking to somebody that's
definitely. No, definitely. I resonate with that massively, and what great examples you give, because I've been in both sectors in actually this week, waking up to the crazy news first thing in the morning. I ended up scrolling. Next thing I know, where is the time? I haven't exercised, I haven't this, I haven't that, and my mindset actually isn't focused in what I'm supposed to do. While another day is I got up, I exercised, I was more positive, I was more with affirmations, and all those other wonderful things. And naturally, I was in a better mindset. The conversation's far easier to flow when I'm having a conversation with somebody. And also, I'm on a high. So exactly the examples you gave, Deborah, is exactly what happens when you start your day incorrectly, for sure. And the why, you're totally right. It is the core of the start to keep you consistent. There's no two ways about that. The reason why I'm consistent with this podcast is because the why is I want to help as many people as possible. I have a habit of not being consistent in some things in my life, but as one thing I am consistent. Even though I turn up late sometimes, I am consistent when it comes to doing these podcasts, and I am consistent that I'm going to help as many people as possible. And I do it with a smile, and I don't think it's a hassle. I don't think, it's a burden. I've got to do another one, and I've got to do another one. And listeners, my why is so strong that I can end up doing 5 podcasts in a row, and afterwards I'm still smiling because I have the great why, which is what Debra talks about. Totally.
It is so important. And, we all have days that we start that way. And I don't know about you, but part of my ADHD is I just am really hard on myself too. I get in this if I didn't do the way I'm supposed to do it. And I think it's conditioning because we don't fit well into society's box. So we've been disciplined for that in our lifetimes. And so now I didn't do that. So now I'm hard on myself. I didn't get all this done. And that also negativity, it affects your mindset. And it affects so much more than that. One of the things a friend of mine, she talks about doing is she records the conversations. This sounds crazy, but how we talk to ourselves is really important. Our inner voice, the things we say to ourselves is really important. And she and I have both been on a very similar healing journey. And so we've worked on it, how we talk to ourselves, and worked through all of those mindset things. And she recorded herself talking to herself. And later when she played it back, she was astounded at how negative it was. And she'd been working on it. But the actual words that she said isn't how she thought she was saying them. But listening back to her say them was very enlightening to her. I think that we don't realize the words we're using are negative.
No,
we think we're encouraging ourselves. We think we're, and I think part of that's just because that, you know, just how society has treated us. And so we're used to talking to ourselves that way. We're used to other people talking to us that way. And so I haven't done it because I would have to, I don't really talk to myself out loud, I don't think very often in my mind, as most of the time my self-talk is mental. And so but I'm curious about it, because for her, she was like, I thought I was going to listen to these positive things I told myself back and be even more motivated and feel my passion. And when I listened to it, I was so critical of myself. And it was very eye-opening for her to see that.
That's quite interesting, actually. And I think I may try that exercise for myself. And I think I'll do that later on tonight, because it could be a situation, of course, because it does make sense. How we perceive ourselves tends to be very, very different. You know, our body image, our mental image, etc. But so by doing the thing, such as if you were speaking to a friend and a friend would say to you, no, actually you're quite negative in what you're saying, really? But by recording yourself, it's the same thing. So I think I'll try that. But let's go back to your ADHD. I'm very curious about your ADHD. Now, when were you diagnosed with ADHD? Was it earlier on or was it later?
It was definitely later. I was an adult, and my ADHD is unique in how it manifests, partially because I am able to navigate society's expectations. I'm smart. I was a very good student, but I was rebellious. So yes, I struggle to focus on things that I don't want to do. I get distracted easily. All of those things. I can have a to-do list and I'll do anything except for that list when I'm in the throes of ADHD. But because I was an excellent student, I made very good grades. I was an athlete. Then when my ADHD manifested, it was rebellion. It was acting out, because I wasn't getting everything I needed to deal with the negativity and dealing with the parts that I wasn't able to do. And the interpersonal stuff, and not focusing on like I would focus on some things and then I would half-ass other things. But I was smart enough that even when I half-assed it, I was better than most people, right? And so if you're smart and an athlete and you're good at things, and you have areas that you struggle in that involve drinking or other rebellious things, staying out late, breaking rules, those types of things, you get labeled as bad. Bad person. You're naughty and you're bad. And so I was labeled as bad and rebellious and wild. And that is my ADHD. And I am in my 50s. I turned 58 last week. And I could still be that way. If I don't take care of myself and do the self-care and I let myself get burned out, I will screw off that to-do list. I will be microdosing mushrooms and riding the scooters in downtown Oklahoma City and not doing any of the things that a responsible Debra should be doing. And it's just different. But the procrastination, the avoiding responsibilities, all of those things are there as well. But I'm able to eventually get through it. I use the term Hulk smash. So I get to the end. I haven't done it. Oh my God, it's due tomorrow. And I have to Hulk smash it. And so then the smart functioning Debra takes over and we Hulk smash that and knock it out.
Yeah.
And
well,
I'll
tell you what.
Different.
Let us find out where that,
because it hides.
let us find out where that Debra comes from there. So with hindsight, how far does this rebellious reign of Debra start? So go way back in the days when you was a child. Obviously you didn't know it at the time. Now you've been diagnosed and you know what you're all about.
Right.
Where did this start from? And what happened? And what did your parents think, peers? And just go back.
So I was raised by my mother. My father was almost 20 years older than my mom. He would be 103 if he were alive today. And so she worked. And my mom, she was strict. And I grew up in a small town in Oklahoma. And this is the story I remember the most. I don't remember this happening. I remember the effects of it. And I was in the first grade, so I must have been about 6 years old. My mom told me she got called to the principal's office because of me. And I was like, what? You know, I mean, I was an adult. This is just a couple of years ago, before she died, that she told me this story. She said, yes, I got called to the principal's office, not even to talk to the teacher. The teacher was there, but I had to go to the principal's office. And they said that you wouldn't stay seated in your desk, and that you were up talking to everyone and bothering them. And helping them. I was very helpful, apparently, and that they couldn't control me. I was uncontrollable in the classroom. And so my mom said, well, that just isn't like Debra to not do her work. And the teacher said, oh, her work's done. Her work's done. She finishes really early. She's really smart. So see, right there, rather than saying, okay, what's wrong? Something's obviously wrong if she's acting out. But instead, I was just being bad. They really expected me to just sit there and wait for everybody else to finish and me just sit quietly at my desk, which was impossible to do. So I was up talking to everybody and bothering them and distracting them and getting them to go play and getting them to get up from their desks and instigating others to be naughty with me. And my mom's response was, you know, I'm like, so what happened? What did you do? And she said, well, I stood up and I said, I suggest you find something for her to do. And I walked out. Typical Gen X, right? Gen X in America. We were latchkey kids. Our parents were very, they didn't helicopter. They turned us outside, locked us out. And that's a very unique generational thing. And that's when my mom was like, well, find something for her to do. So what I remember in first grade was I read every book, and then I read the books in the big library too, but I went and I escorted all of the kindergarten classes to their milk break. and I would go escort other classes. So they found lots of little busy work to keep me occupied, is how they dealt with that. But looking back, does that not so describe an ADHD child running around, instigating trouble, getting other people to talk to them and not paying attention? And the difference is that my work was done and accurate. And so they don't see a learning disability, right? I didn't have a learning disability. I just, it was an odd combination of it. But that's the really first thing that my mom said to me that really made me think, and there it is, right?
Well, what was you like at home? So that was at school, but what were you like at home? How did that ADHD manifest within the home?
You know, I kind of similarly, you know, my mom was really strict, and so I acted out. I was rebellious. I got suspended from school. I stayed out when I wasn't supposed to, but also I learned to adapt. I learned that if I were really helpful, then I would have more freedom to do the crazy things that were in my mind that I wanted to do. And so I would, you know, do all the housework. There would be no reason that I would be in trouble for doing anything else. So I would like hyper focus on doing all of this stuff so that when I'm doing the wild stuff, then I'm not in as much trouble. I found ways to accommodate and sort of, I guess, manipulate the situation so that the consequences would be less because I had done so many good things along with it. And so I found my value in accomplishment, which is different for ADHD because it's hard to accomplish things. But what that did was it almost justified my bad behavior in my own mind, those conversations that you have. So my oldest daughter has kind of a similar ADHD. She actually has listening ADHD specifically.
Okay, and break down that. What do you mean by listening? If it's her.
She was in college when she was diagnosed because she didn't show any signs of ADHD either. She's very, very smart. She's actually a doctor in her residency now. But when she got in college, she struggled more than she did when she was in high school. And so she went and got tested. She said, I think I have ADHD, but so she went and got tested. And this is how they determined her listening ADHD. One of the things they did was they gave a written IQ test and an oral IQ test. And she had a 30-point difference. So she could be looking right at you and you think she is dialed in to what you're saying, and she won't be listening at all. Her mind is somewhere else. And so she made it all the way through school, high school, learning herself. She would read the material and learn it. She didn't listen in class. She couldn't listen in class. She also did things that were rebellious, not as rebellious as me, but she did things, snuck out at lunch and did things like that. But so when she doesn't pay attention when she has to listen to it.
Okay.
She can read and pay attention. She can watch something and pay attention. She can focus on something that she's looking at. But if somebody's lecturing her and she has to learn it that way, then she struggled tremendously. And she had to work really hard to overcome that to be a doctor, because you have to listen to your patients. You have to
Mm,
listen to what's happening. And it was huge for her to discover that. And
mm,
once she did, she could take steps. She recorded classes. She would ask, she said, I asked one of the professors in medical school if he minded if I recorded his class. I sat at the front and I didn't want to just suddenly start recording. And he was like, "No, I don't mind. I don't know why you need it. You're there every day and you're
mm-hmm.
listening." And she goes, "Oh, I'm not listening." Looks like I'm listening, but and she partially is, but her ADHD, her mind just takes her into other places, and then 20 minutes has gone by and she has completely lost where she
Wow.
was in that. And it's a very unique, I didn't even know listening ADHD was a thing, but that is specifically what she was diagnosed with. And I can see myself, I do that. If I'm at a luncheon or somewhere and there's a speaker, they can lose me pretty quickly.
So it's
And
mom's fault.
yes, I definitely did. And then I also have a biological son that is the atypical boy ADHD. He couldn't sit still. He couldn't focus on any of his schoolwork. He did poorly in school because of that. And he is a pure creative.
Mm,
So when you need somebody that's purely creative, boy, it's invaluable to have them on your staff, because they can bring out so many fantastic ideas, and sometimes they're really crazy and over the top, but I can dial that in and make that a fantastic idea. But what you can't do is take somebody that's not creative and shove them off that creative cliff and expect them to come up with something creative. But if you have a pure creative on your staff, everybody bitches about them. They can't do paperwork. They don't show up to meetings on time. They're off in their own world. They don't listen to what you're talking about. They don't care about what you're talking about in the meeting, because they're in imagination land. And unfortunately, that's a really good example of how society, especially our education system, really tries to fit us into this little box. And it really goes all the way back to Rockefeller, when they put together, and Henry Ford, when they developed our current education system in the United States. And I quote, "We want workers, not thinkers." And ADHD people are thinkers.
It's difficult for us, for sure.
We're in our mind, we're thinking, we're idea people, we're not task, we're not meant for the assembly line. And that's what they were looking for. It was the industrial era. They wanted manufacturer workers, and so that's what we have. We have generations of workers, not thinkers, and thinkers that can't fit into that worker box mold, standardized set of criteria. And my son is definitely that. I'm grateful he has found his responsibility. He was so in his own imagination land, I was concerned he might even be indigent when he grew up, because everything else, it just didn't matter. It just didn't matter to him.
Well, I'm glad that you was able to help your children to navigate their lives, because you had ADHD yourself, so you knew exactly what it was like. So when they needed the support and help, you were there to do so in quite a simple and easy way, because you could put yourself in their shoes, right? So that was really helpful. But going back to your childhood, I want to know where you got the natural. Well, I wouldn't even say it's natural. Was it natural, or was it developed through certain things that happened when you was a child, navigating certain situations, and then just having a natural way of being able to have a conversation, which was very convincing as you was going through life?
I think that what I'm a natural at is communication.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have any idea. I had never had a sales job. You hear people talk about sales, and it was foreign sounding to me. And now I know that early in life, I got my first job when I was 12 at a diner, and I was waiting tables, and waiting tables is sales. Now I know that now, but at the time I didn't. And I was in college at Oklahoma State University, and my roommates and I, we had a new roommate move in, a boy, and his name was Dan, and he was older than us, and he ran the OSU Foundation telemarketing department. He was like the supervisor. And so we all got jobs there, right? My roommates, my boss, that's exactly where I'm going to get a job. And turned out I was really good at it. I didn't have any sales training. I hadn't really even taken very many business classes. And I have a communications degree, and I was so good at it. My senior year, I was telemarketer of the year. I raised more money for education and scholarships at Oklahoma State University that year than anyone else.
Wow.
And so I was like, well, hey, I might be good at this sales thing. And I added all the business and marketing stuff on at the end, the last 2 years that I was in school. And I went directly into a sales job after I graduated. But I just was good at it. And as I look back at it, I'm very authentic when you talk to me. And I am communication. I'm good at communicating. And I think that comes through, and that got me going down that path. And then I got sales training later in life, and took, business classes after that. But honestly, I kind of just discovered it because I got a job because my roommate was going to be my boss, and that seemed like something I wanted to have. And my roommate at the time, Vaughn, who I'm still friends with to this day,
oh great,
she worked there too. And so she was in marketing. That was her major. So she but really it was just because we wanted to have an easy boss, right? We were young.
I can hear that. So let's talk about your business. How do you help people within the business from a sales point of view? Just give us, what types of things do you cover when it comes to helping people? Is it just a situation where you just do online? Are there specific people that you deal with online to help them sell their business, offline, or a bit of both? Or just give us a gist of what you do.
The majority of my clients right now are people that are within Oklahoma. I do have some that are out of state that I meet with virtually, but for the most part, I work with small business people. We'll say under 20 employees typically, and we're helping them either put together a marketing plan. Sometimes I'll start out just helping them with a specific campaign. So putting that marketing plan together, how are you going to promote your business? How are you going to sell your products? Who are you going to sell them to? Who are the different categories of people that you sell to? So maybe you sell to moms, and maybe you sell to a group of higher affluent people, or maybe you sell to kids. Who are your group? Are you business to business? Do you sell mostly to tradespeople? Who are all of those different groups? Because that's important, because not all of those people respond to the same message, and they're not all on the same platforms. You're not going to reach them all in the same place. So I like to think about your customers and like crops, kind of like marketing, like you're farming, right? So I might plant tomatoes and cucumbers and corn and fruit, maybe some apple trees and wheat, and you get all of these different crops, and they harvest at different times. They all require different amounts of sunlight and different nutrients and different water and all of those things. So they all have to be tended in different ways, and your target audiences are like that as well. You don't just sell to one type of person, you sell to different ones. So if you're selling to families, then they're going to respond to their, I like to give a discount to a family. Families are always struggling for money and looking for a deal. And so if that's your target, then you're going to want to come in at some point with a discount to them, and that will entice them. If you're have a high-end product or service, and you're not the low-cost provider of that high-end service, so you're selling nice stuff to an upper income person, then you definitely don't want to discount it, because that group isn't going to want a discount. They're going to think there's something wrong with it if you're discounting it. They have a different viewpoint in that, and knowing those things and identifying them can be very helpful in ultimately packaging your products and services at the right price point with the right message, and then knowing where to find those people. Where are the families at? That's not going to be the same place where the guy driving the Mercedes is going to be looking at, and having all of those things. It can vary so much even by age group. Google is the juggernaut, right, of directional advertising. So directional meaning people know they want to buy your product, so they're going there to a search engine to get it. And Google is the juggernaut, although in the United States they got antitrust, so you'll see competition happening more in that industry simply because they are getting busted up. The United States government isn't going to let them have a monopoly over pre-installation of them on Android phones specifically. So, but if your target customer is over the age of 55, then only about 25% of them actually use Google. So if you have got all of your money wrapped up in Google, you've limited the total number of people in your target that are going to see it, because they're not on Google. Believe it or not, almost 60% of them use Yahoo for their search engine. Really? And when I first read that statistic, I was like, come on, really? I'm in that. I'm over 55. And I was like, I don't use Yahoo to search. But remember, that was a big deal, that, the little yodeling Yahoo. That was a big deal. And Google's monopoly in the smartphones helped kind of force them out. But then I started thinking about it, Eli, and let me tell you, I am on the Yahoo News page every single day. I read news on that page. I just don't pop up into that search and use it to search for anything. But boy, I'm really close to it, aren't I? I'm on that page every day. So knowing that, part of what I do when I sit down with a business owner is, let's talk about, I don't presume to know who your customers are. I may know they're homeowners, but there's a wide variety of homeowners. Who specifically does your product speak to? And helping them figure all of that out, and then coming up with the campaign, the tactics. Are you going to do video? Are you going to do reels? Are you going to do any social media at all? Maybe you're business to business, and so Facebook's not a great place for you to be. You're hitting lots of people that don't own businesses on there. So figuring out all of that and targeting is really important. And then from a sales perspective, that comes from messaging and pricing strategy. Let's really get in and focus on a marketing part of it. How can we make media and advertising and work product out there and price it in the right way and package it in the right way so that it's more likely to sell? So we're giving tools to our frontline salespeople, whether they're answering the phone or whether they're going out and finding people, you're giving them the tools in your product and services that makes it easier for them to sell. And so making
So
sure we have the right hook, we have a sale offer if we need it, all of those things.
there's huge
Then I
amounts.
also offer sales training and sales coaching. I've run lots of different sales departments, from telemarketing to door to business to outside sales. So whether that's in a team, we're doing some team training, just regular sales training, or individual coaching. I do both of those two things. And so we focus really on, one, how do we sell this offer, right? We've packaged it in a certain way, and we've put the messaging out in a certain way. So how do we expect you as a salesperson to sell it? And then, you know, those individual coaching, those skills. How are you prospecting? What are you doing to generate leads? How are you following up? Let's look at your sales presentation. Are you asking for the sale? How do you close it out? How are you coming back? How are you following up? One of the things I'm really good at is getting in the door. So if you have somebody that you just can't get in, just can't get in. I can't get an appointment with the decision maker, that gatekeeper. I can't get past them. They take a message and I never get a call back, and I can't get past that office manager or receptionist or whoever it is. Coming up with creative ideas for helping that, whether it's a salesperson or a business owner, get in the door and get that appointment. I can come up with some really good creative ideas. One in particular we did was I think it was a dentist office, and one of our sales guys couldn't get in. He really wanted in. They spent a lot of money in advertising, so they wanted a chance at getting a share of that budget. And so what we did was food. Food's always good, everybody. If you want to make someone happy, food usually works.
Of course.
So we did pizza, and we made arrangements. We picked up the pizza, and so we did marketing, sales materials. So we got like meat lovers, and that's all the meat of what we have available, right? Here's the offer. Here's all the stuff. And then the cheese was all the good stuff, all of our testimonials, all of our data of why our product or service worked, you know, the cheese. So fixing all of that, it was great when he came in my office and played the voicemail that said, pizza will get you in the door. And so we had to sit down and have that appointment. So having that, I'm basically like a sales manager. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. How do I fix this situation? And I'm really good at coming up with those solutions from a marketing, pricing, packaging, messaging standpoint, and on an individual basis.
My God. You've got a wide span of how you help people massively. So how do people potentially contact you? I mean, what is your contact details?
You can always email me at Debra@hexagonmedia.net, but you can also, I'd love for you to tune into my podcast. About a year after I started my business, I started a podcast, and it is titled Deals with Heels, where female entrepreneurs thrive. It is a business entrepreneur female empowerment podcast. It's got a lot of great business, sales, and marketing information, but it's presented from a female perspective, from females, female guests, and female guest hosts along with me. So you can always find information out and contact me via that. My website is dealswithheels.com, so it's really easy to remember, and all of my contact information is there as well. And then I also have an ebook you can download, and it is titled 5 Steps to Having a Mindset for Success. And those are the actual 5 steps I took to change my life after my mother died. And so they're not necessarily science-based in that, I'm not a counselor, I'm not doing any of those things, but they're the steps that I took that changed my mindset and got me back on my soul path and my purpose, and helped me find my way again and helped me find my voice. And so we talk a lot about that on my podcast as well, but I'd love for you to download that and reach out and give me some feedback about the podcast.
Great. And listeners, as always, I'll leave the information down below so you can copy and paste or click away to your heart's content. And as you can see, if you resonate with this beautiful lady and so knowledgeable at the same time, it just makes sense just to make that connection. You never know what may happen. Things will go in the right direction for sure. But in the meantime, Debra, thank you for the wonderful information you've given us, and thank you for giving us your precious time.
Thank you so much for having me. I had such a good time talking to you. I don't often get to talk about my ADHD, and a lot of people don't even realize that I have it. Because I'm able to hide it behind my nerdiness really well. But for me, it's a superpower that as a society, we have done a very poor job of nurturing in people. And so I hope that all of your listeners realize that, how special they really are, and to find it and dive into the part of their ADHD that makes them special, because it's in there. It's definitely in there. You just have to find it and have the confidence to let it out and rely on it and embrace it.
I hear you, and so well said, finishing off this wonderful podcast. Thank you once again, and listeners, sayonara.